Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Teal Tinted Glasses Barracuda After Dark edition, presented obviously by tealtownusa.com. Welcome to the show after a 4-2 victory for the San Jose Barracuda. Obviously a much needed win for them by, much needed win after that first game that they played. It was a good game. I thought the Barracuda were very good tonight. They did a better job of dealing with the Griffins' rough stuff. I thought, the Griffins are a real sandpaper team, and I think that puts it politely. These guys, some of these things they do after whistles, it's just crazy how much they got away with, like that slash on Grossnick. I mean, I don't know how you get away with that. It wasn't a follow-up on a shot. It wasn't anything. And oh dear, Sleepy Mofo couldn't get enough weird crap from Twin Peaks, so now I'm watching Barracuda After Dark. Makes sense. Flying solo, it's just, yeah, I mean, the game's pretty crazy. I'm just gonna bring up some of the numbers here as we things I normally do before I hit the play button, but you get crazy and you do silly things. And today, also, all right. So, obviously, Barracuda get off to a solid start this game. They get up to a nice 2-goal lead, nice and early. Is Grand Rapids a sketchy city? I don't know. Honestly, I feel like if I've been to Grand Rapids, it's been like I drove through it quickly, which is pretty much how I treat most of Michigan when I'm down there. You kind of drive through it, and I try to get back to Canada as quickly as possible. I don't know, honestly. I mean, it can't be too sketchy because, like, if I could, I would totally, make the trip down, but with school and not exactly having identification that'll let me across the border because it's, 2017 and not 1999. It sucks. Keep the doors locked. Oh yeah. I mean, I don't think it could be any sketchier than Detroit. Like, Detroit is genuinely scary to drive through. And like, generally I don't get off the interstate. Like, I just right through to the Ambassador Bridge and back into Canada because for those that don't know, if you try to go to Southern Ontario through Canada, you have to go all the way around Lake Huron. So the faster way to go is to go down, especially for me living in a border city. I just go down through Sioux, Michigan, follow the I-75, and you can come back and basically whatever's on the other side of Sarnia or Windsor, Detroit. So that's been my experience with traveling through Michigan. Yay, Bakersfield. So let's get down to some of the numbers here. Obviously, the power play super improved. It was a big issue in the last game, going 0 for 6. Tonight it was 3 for 5, and other than the empty netter, every goal they scored was on a power play. So the power play obviously mattered, and I think that once Joe Thornton wasn't there anymore, so they didn't have to worry about, if they get called up and their power play is really good, maybe Joe Thornton will be angry with them, and they didn't have to worry about that tonight. So it's just Joel Ward, so they just had to worry about not looking old and useless. Oh, okay, I'm kidding. I don't have any paperwork to go across. You need I need an enhanced driver's license or a Nexus card, none of which I could get by Wednesday or the weekend. Anyway, so no Joe Thornton in the house tonight. So the power play works again because nobody wants to show up Joe Thornton when Joe Thornton's in the house. And I get it. I mean, look at, yeah. I don't know where I was going with that. Do the Cudas play the Wolves next year? I don't know. That's a fantastic question. The scheduling's funny because they try to get them out to play central teams. They could. I don't think just because the Wolves being where they are, they're still going to be a central team. And so, I mean, they might, there's no guarantee, even though they'll be the Vegas affiliate, there's no guarantee that they will play the Barracuda next year. Yeah. It's good. I mean, it's a good time. Look, the arena looked good. I mean, there's a lot of people there tonight for, obviously SAP Center is too big for the team, and we've, really hammered that a couple of times now. But that was a good crowd for an AHL game, I thought. Looked solid. I know Mr. Kevin Lacey sent us some pictures from his vantage point of just how nicely filled in the seats were, and it looked really good. So I'm glad to see that the Barracuda are starting to get some support as they get deeper into the playoffs, because that's important. I mean, look, it's hard, to see your team. No, it'll never be sold out. It's SAP Center. It's even carpeting it off. There's still too many seats for what you could expect at an AHL game in San Jose, I think. Maybe not. I mean, look at some other teams do, other places draw well. So maybe maybe I'm letting San Jose off the hook a little bit here, but I think that in that market, it's unrealistic. Because look at, there's a lot of, I mean, Barracuda tickets aren't exactly going to break your back, but there's a lot, baseball's back, and I think people, hockey's pretty low on the, on the thing there. So yeah, Grand Rapids probably, Grand Rapids usually sells pretty good. I think, again, different, you're talking Michigan. Hockey's still, king up in the states. So then especially like Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, I obviously other sports do well in those places too, but I think, hockey does incredibly well. It doesn't have the fight that it does in the Bay Area. There might be some cow tipping in Grand Rapids. You know what? I'm going to go to Grand Rapids now just so I can tell you guys next time you ask me this question, since it's only about 4.5 hours away. I'll have the goods on Grand Rapids at some point. Maybe next season I'll have the goods for you. I'm just going to sip my Pepsi quick and we'll go. So yeah, I mean, trying to keep us on pace here without what's their Twitter? I believe they I think they toss Harry Potter books on the ice. I don't think that they toss squids. That's the parent club thing. They might. I don't know. Maybe they do. I don't know. I don't know. Let's take a look here. I got so much going on here. I know it's hard because I don't like to have dead air, so I'd rather mumble like this than have dead air, which probably doesn't help anyone either. Shots on goal, I thought that the Barracuda did really well this game in the shots on goal department. I thought last game, you looked at the Barracuda and they took a lot of shots, but not a lot of them were great. I thought that they did a much better much better chance of dealing with Jared Coro today. They really put some good shots on goal. It wasn't a fluke they were up. I mean, they could have been up more too. The third period, Grand Rapids came back and they outshot them in the third period. But I mean, when the game's on the line and you're on the opposite side, generally that's what's going to happen. I mean, even yesterday, I think the Barracuda that's when they got all their shots on goal was in the third period last game. It was just the fact that they were just garbage shots. Sleepy asking, how did Noah Rod look? I didn't really notice Rod that much. So he didn't do anything that stood out. So I guess that's okay. I guess he wasn't good. He wasn't terrible. I'll leave it at that. Like, I don't think he didn't do anything that stood out and said, oh my God, why is this guy on the ice? But he didn't do anything incredibly noteworthy either. Didn't really do much to stand out. Didn't really hear his name that much on the broadcast. So I don't know. I'm going to say okay because, Yeah, he tripped on the ice. I think everyone did though. I mean, that ice looked awful. They had the synchronized diving into the offensive zone there a couple of times with just guys losing wheels, and the ice looked bad. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, um, yeah. Oh, yes. We'll get there. Like you're saying, after watching the cluster F that was the Memorial Cup, the Seattle Thunderbirds got just hammered by the Windsor Spitfires today. I believe it was like 7 something. Um, I haven't had a chance to watch many good games, but I thought I'd pop in. Hey, Felix, how you doing? Um, yeah, look, I think the second period has really been it's good. Sleepy Mofo bringing this up. They let their foot off of it in the second period. Second periods for the Barracuda team have not been good. If there's been a period that's been a concern, I think through the playoffs this year, it's been the second period for the Barracuda. Just I don't know what is going on, but yeah, they do weird things. Racist Fan Rocks 4. What is the ideal size for an AHL arena for the CUDA? I think that the CUDA would be fine in a 10,000 seat arena tops, and that's being generous. You could probably, someone saying Matt saying, 6 and change. I can't argue with that. Maybe meet us in the middle and go 8. I think that would be fine. I think, you might not fill it every game, but I think it would be, look at being a guy from a junior hockey town, we don't always fill our barn, but it's nice when you have a smaller arena. And I think the SR Center here, until they rename it next year, where the Sioux Greyhounds play, it only sits, I think, 5,000 people. But it's nice, but because it's small and intimate, it's nice and cozy, and it always feels like, you always feel, regardless of whether it's half full or full, it always kind of gives you that feeling of, you get the noise because of the better acoustics, because of the smaller building. It just feels like a hockey game all the time. Whereas I think when you look at the Barracuda, when you play an SAP Center, I mean, this is a full-sized arena. I mean, it's small by NHL standards today, but it's still, it's still a nice arena. And I can't imagine how exciting that, I don't think it would feel, the ambiguous feel. I don't think it would feel that great with, some of those regular season crowds, because everyone's so spread out that there's just, it would be, I don't know, it'd be like watching hockey in a waiting room somewhere. I don't know. That's kind of how I would feel about it without actually experiencing it myself. So I mean, take that all with a grain of salt. And Felix let me know that the CUDA finally got some airtime on the local news station. No, I had no idea. Good, glad for them. So back to what I was saying though, I just think that if you had a more intimate arena, I think it would be a much better environment. I think it would just feel like it would be a better experience for the fans in a smaller building. And I kind of hoped that was going to happen at some point, where they would just, build one over by Sharks Ice or whatever. But I can understand, them not wanting to do another building at the same time. I mean, ice is hard to maintain, obviously, especially trying to maintain quality ice as terrible as SAP Center does it. Could you imagine if it wasn't an SAP Center, how bad the ice would be? It'd be awful. But yeah, no, I mean, it is what it is. I like the questions in the chat, so keep them coming, and I will try to wheel in and out of them as I talk about the game, and we can go from there. So yeah, so I mean, at the end of the game, the Barracuda outshot the Grand Rapids Griffins. I'm so used to all these like California teams, 40-35. So that was good. Obviously the penalty kill, the penalty kill did all right. They let that one power play goal in, and there wasn't really much Groznik was going to do about it, I don't think. I feel like they did they had a really good game. The one thing that surprised me was DeSimone coming out of the lineup for Kelly. I think if you want to, if you want to look at stuff. That's kind of weird. It's that was a really, really, really interesting. Oh, there you go. Um, yeah, I was. So Cheryl was on Twitter, and she said that she was in section 101, and she said that Doug Wilson came down to Rose to say hi to a couple of young guys taking in the game. Um, I couldn't tell from the pictures that she put on Twitter who they were. I think Zach dropped a hint, but I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, it's always interesting when Doug Wilson comes and talks to the people. They could even be our guys already. um, so yeah, there's that. Do I think that ending scrum will carry? Oh, this game's been. I mean, look at you would think that this was like you would think that this series was like a long time, right? Like you would think we were playing the Rain right now, or the Gulls again, or Stockton, or the Condors. Like these games have been something else as far as Christine saying we need facial recognition software. I absolutely agree. And then it needs to have a database that actually cares about junior hockey players or minor hockey players, whether they be junior players or college players or whatever. But back to the rough stuff. Yeah, you would think that these were, this was like a lifetime rivalry. Like this is like some Habs Bruins stuff going on here, with how much these teams hate each other. And I get that, San Jose and obviously Detroit in the NHL have had some history, obviously, but I don't think that carries over to your minors league. Yes, he mentioned that we should ask if they are Portland Winterhawks. So there is that. I think that's going to carry. I think this series is going to be a bloodbath from start to finish. I don't think look, it's conference finals. I think that if you get this far, oh hey, look who it is. It's Kevin.
Hey,
Hi
hey,
Kevin, how are you?
I'm great. I was extremely hungover today, folks. However, that was a great victory, and I feel good now. I am gonna have to bounce out in a little bit, and then I'll try and come back on.
That's
But
okay.
where are you at in the coverage of the game this evening?
We are talking about all the rough stuff. And
Oh,
just
good.
about saying how you would think like this was like the Leafs and Habs, or like the Leafs and Habs, or like Habs Bruins, like the way these guys are killing each other, you would think that these were like a long time rival.
Right. Yeah, and so I completely missed the game last night. So I don't know how much you talked about last night. I guess it was very rough as well. But one of the things
Was
I noticed tonight, that it seems to be a theme, is they're really targeting Buddy Robinson. Um, I feel like every time I don't know if it's let's get after the guy who's 6'6" and can actually skate or what, but Ian, am I still on? You're like
Yep,
frozen
you're
on my
here.
screen.
Nope, I'm here.
Oh, okay, whew, okay. But I felt like every time Robinson was out there, it didn't matter if it was 5'3" Joe Hicketts or Tyler Bertuzzi going after him or whatever, but they were always taking runs at Robinson. And even after the game, I was thinking, get him off the ice with this empty net. And sure enough, shenanigans ensued afterwards. And I won't say that Robinson wasn't doing his own part in it, let's just say, because he kind of dragged Tomas Nosek into a scrum there at the end.
Right.
But yeah, very rough. Very rough.
I wonder if there's something just that, like, from, I don't know how the East teams, how much they play like out of conference. I'm pretty sure that
They
the Binnington, do the
no,
Griffins play Binnington at all?
no.
So I was curious
No,
if there was
yeah, only in the
if there was
Calder Cup
something from those
finals.
days.
Yeah.
I don't know then.
Yeah. But boy, I mean, Tim Heed got lit up there. I was glad to see him come back, especially because the power play woes, which obviously weren't so woeful tonight, but still, overall in the playoffs, we've been a little concerned with the D pairs on the power play. So it was good to have
Right.
Heed back. later in the game. Yeah, Ian, what was your take? Just overall roughness? I mean,
This is some great playoff hockey because
yeah.
like these guys are playing like they've met 100 times before in the playoffs, and to get that kind of intensity out of two teams that have played 4 times in their entire existence, that's something.
Right. Yeah, it's great. And I noticed a lot of chirping too. I'm trying to think of who it was, but one of the Griffins was chirping with Grossnick. I almost got the feeling Grossnick said something to him first, because the way he spun around and started gabbing at him. Caro was talking a lot.
Right.
Robin certainly was yapping. But there was a play where it was the Griffins were making a line change, and so they had 10 guys on the ice, and about 8 of them were arguing with Robinson as he's being restrained by the linesman. So again, like I said, he had his own part to play in all this. But
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
it's definitely playoff hockey. It's the kind of playoff hockey I expected to see out of San Diego, aside from the fact that they had half an ECHL team on their roster. Who
You think you'd get that more than at that point, right? I mean, it's
yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. But yeah, it was a great atmosphere in the building tonight too. I heard that last night apparently was just off the wall.
Looked good. I mean, from what I can gather from, I had the AHL feed was broken yesterday, so I had unsynced video and audio.
Mm-hmm.
So only get so much, but from what I saw, it looked really good.
Yeah.
And tonight looked good. And I was just, we were talking earlier, like it's unfortunate that, the Barracuda don't have a smaller arena to play in, where if because I think that you would get that environment all the time, even when, it's not the conference finals and there's not $1 hot dogs and $2 beer.
Right. Hey, but at least it is getting, I mean, I've been saying now for the better part of 2 years, like they need to find a way to get people to know about the team. And that includes Sharks fans, because most Sharks fans still don't know about the Barracuda. And
right.
I'm always talking about them at work because I figure, I'll promote them. Why not, And if it takes $2 beers and $1 hot dogs to get them in, okay, because at least
so be it.
You get them in, and you see this great playoff hockey, and then next year you build off of that.
Oh, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Yeah.
I hope that this run translates into some more eyeballs for the Barracuda next year. Obviously, look at the Barracuda; they need to win too. I think that's in this market, especially.
Yeah.
You have to win.
Yeah, definitely there. Just a totally. I'm gonna try and not go too far off a tangent, but we talked a lot about the ice and how.
Yes.
Why don't they have a Barracuda logo at center? And the Sharks are long gone. And someone brought up a guy I sit with, Dave. He brought up a good point in that if they could melt the Stanley Cup playoff stuff off of the ice, they could put a Barracuda logo at center. However, I don't know if they have a template to do that though.
That was something that was also mentioned to me, that there just might not be a stencil for it, and they just don't feel like making one, which would make sense. My Vince G in the chat. I got Felix has a question which I got to get to, but Vince G in the chat, fantastic. Mike Neves is watching the Barracuda now. Everyone else has no excuse.
Oh, hey-o.
You're all on notice now.
Well, it's still an outstanding crowd. And I mean, when Carpenter scored that goal to make it 2-0, I was like thinking, outside of the overtime goal in round 1, this is the loudest goal celebration I've ever heard for a Barracuda game, and this is freaking awesome. So, yeah, great time tonight. What's up with Felix?
Felix just wants to know, kind of get the rundown on the injury update. So, injury update, the ones that I can tell you for sure anything about is Rourke Chartier is nursing a lower body injury. He's been doing so since the last round, unfortunately, which is a huge loss for the Barracuda because he has been just solid. One of the best players that wasn't scoring. Nikita Yevpalovs is also apparently now out with a lower body injury. He came back last game and then got hurt again, so he's out. And then everyone else, I think it's more juggling of just people in and out of the lineup. Today, DeSimone got pulled out of the lineup for Dan Kelly. I didn't really care for that move when I initially heard it, but I mean, they won, so I guess we can.
Well, I've been speculating for the better part of 2 months that Dan Kelly has been injured, because you don't. I know, okay, Dan Kelly, not the fleetest of foot and all that, but you don't scratch an alternate captain for the playoffs.
Yeah,
it doesn't. So Kelly, I thought, looked really good tonight. I thought he looked more mobile than I think I've seen him all season. And his decision-making was really spot on. His timing was good. I liked how Dan Kelly played in his return from what I would call an injury.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I mean, DeSimone's been great though. He's been really, really good. So I was kind of disappointed. I mean, obviously, if someone's gonna have to come out, I get it.
Yeah.
Like he would be the guy, but it's hard, man, because DeSimone really put up some good play. Maybe not all the numbers, but solid play. But I've been really impressed with Lady Dragonborn, hoping that Burke would be back already.
Sorry, Ian, I didn't mean.
No, that's okay.
I was gonna say, and good for Berkman, because honestly, he might be the next guy I would pull out if it wasn't DeSimone. It might be Bergman, but Bergman gets that big goal to start things off tonight. So I was pretty happy with how that second pair played, actually. Overall.
Yeah, it's hard because like I don't know what I would do. Like if you're gonna start pulling somebody off of there, I might still yank Mirko for Bergman.
Oh yeah, I probably wasn't gonna say it, but
I would. I don't care.
No one's paying me. But Mueller again, another guy I thought actually played really well. There was a slide that I thought he could have executed way better on the penalty kill, but other than that, I thought Mueller's decision making was also pretty good tonight.
It was, and it's interesting you bring that up because this was a team, especially with how rough it's been. Like I was really worried about Mirko because I thought, especially against Stockton, Mirko got just exposed because he was getting just, they hammered him every chance they got.
Well said.
And so, I mean, and the Griffins, the Griffins aren't exactly a light team. They just, I think they're just more of a sandpaper than just pure brute force, I think, though.
Yeah.
Like they're very irritating.
That's what works well for them is most of their scorers are really small forwards, but they're complemented by these big, rough wingers.
Right. Yeah. What did you think? Because I got asked about Noah Rod earlier, and I honestly didn't really notice him.
I didn't like.
Didn't like it
tonight. Nope, didn't like it. There were a couple of times where he could have positioned himself to not cough the puck up, and instead his body would be kind of on the wrong side of the puck, and then just throw it up the middle to a Griffins player. I felt like Rode was really. I don't know. He's just not there yet.
Yeah, I was going to ask, is that a problem just from the adjustment to the North American ice surface?
I think I definitely think so, because I mean the AHL and the NLA, skating wise, honestly, isn't that big of a difference. But just the style of game that is played over in Switzerland versus here. Way different, and I think it's a big adjustment. And I would look for another forward. I know there are a couple. You mentioned that Yevpalov and Chartier are both injured.
Right.
Look at another forward again. McCauley, I like him. I've liked him a little less here in the playoffs than I did the final couple weeks of the regular season, but I would put him in easily over Rode. So
it's interesting because like with McCauley, you have Big Spence because I can't pronounce his name. And I call him Big Spence.
Every chance I could get at the arena, like, come on, Big Spence! Come on, Big Spence!
So I think that with him drawing in, like you would think that McCauley would draw in before Big Spence, and so I'm not really surprised that Rode drew into the lineup, especially with With, obviously Chartier being out now, Pulov's being hurt again, which is really unfortunate because Pulov's, I've liked his game. I like the way that you can just kind of slot him in anywhere.
Yeah, agreed.
And
By the
that's
way,
a
I just
kind of
want
a big loss. Go ahead.
with Big Spence. I saw Puck Guy at the game. Puck Guy
How's
was
Puck
there,
Guy?
and huh?
I
Oh,
said,
he's
how
good.
is Puck Guy? That's good.
He's good. He was enjoying some wings and fries, so and enjoying the game too. But wearing that very
Enjoying some
stylish
wings. What a traitor! What a traitor!
Oh, he was eating the wings though, just like the Barracuda did tonight.
Okay,
sort of.
okay, he's off the hook. I thought we were
Anyway,
gonna have like.
but since and I'm not going to get into it, but the much maligned public address announcer of the SAP Center, not Danny Miller, love you, Danny, but the other guy, Eric, sent me a text saying, "I can't wait to hear how he says Acid Chuck's name. I'm going with Aw Shucks."
Nice.
So, I liked that.
Felix asking.
It was neither.
Felix asking, who do we see making who do you, just based on this playoff run, who do you think's got a real inside chance of making the team out of camp next year without obviously knowing who's back? And there's a lot of big question marks there, I think, that are going to decide.
I was going to say, UFAs aside, it's Ryan Carpenter all the way. I've seen maybe 10 minutes of Eastern Conference play here in the playoffs, but I'm just like, how is Ryan Carpenter not the MVP of the entire playoffs so far? Not just of the team, but of the whole playoffs. The guy has been in beast mode this whole run. So, and another goal, and I think an assist tonight too.
Right.
So, tons of shot block. Him and McCarthy were shot, and Goodrow.
Yeah,
great game.
Goodrow's been good.
All three of those guys shot blocking machines tonight. So great.
I think
Goodrow would be another guy I would actually say with the way he's adjusted these last couple of months.
Are we getting a new head coach?
No.
Then Goodrow doesn't have a chance. The dog has been kicked.
I'm still thinking he's going to be a Golden Knight. Oh, speaking of Golden Knights, real quick, Tomasz Nosek, the guy who was taunting SAP Center on his way off to a course of booze, like I tweeted out earlier at Kevin Lacey 22. You do realize you lost, right, Tomasz? But anyway, he's another guy that I think could be Golden Knights bound next year because he's just in that logjam of forwards in Detroit, and he's been in Grand Rapids. I think this is his fourth year now. He's looked great for Grand Rapids tonight, and a guy who, like Carpenter, really has nothing left to prove at this level. So I think that Nosek and Goodrow, Vegas might take a look at them for next year.
I think another guy too that I think Detroit's really gonna have to really make a decision on would probably be Ferk at this point.
Oh yeah, well, they sort of did. They waived him, and then Carolina.
They waived him and let him go to Carolina, and then brought him back.
Carolina waived him, and he went back to Detroit. Ferk is great though too. I actually didn't really notice too much of him. And Matt Larito, another guy I expected more out of tonight. And I'm trying not to curse this for Game 3, but Ferk is a solid player. Everyone makes fun of his name, rightfully so, but you won't be making fun of his name when you see his freaking wrist shot from the left side on a power play.
No, exactly.
So, yeah, great player there. I got to bounce for a little bit because my phone's overheating and I need to kind of get situated. But I will try and come back as soon as possible, guys.
That's fine. I will do my best to hold the fort. All right, so it's just me again. Yeah, Ferk. I really like Ferk. Just from what I've seen of him, and we'll have to once Kevin comes back, we'll get back in. I guess we can talk about other things that happened today. Canada lost to Sweden in a shootout, and it is what it is. Look, you know what? I hate. I'm not doing this. Canada could have won, and I'd still feel the same way. So I don't want this to come off as sour grapes because, congrats to Sweden. Look, Sweden was great. Through the whole, through the tournament, from what I understand. I didn't really watch a ton of it. In fact, I didn't watch anything other than this game because I was like, well, this Pittsburgh, this massacre that Pittsburgh put up today on the Senators wasn't very interesting. So I kind of flipped it over. so I watched the championship game for the World Championships, and it was a good game. I thought that both teams played really well. It's just unfortunate that it had to end in a shootout. I think that that was probably one of the best 5-on-5 overtimes I've seen in a long time. And I think when you're on a championship game, like they were in this sense, like I understand in a tournament where you have multiple games a day, you don't want to have you can't have a game go too long, right? So a shootout makes a lot of sense, but it's the gold medal game. Everyone else is done playing. Let them play. Let them, sort it out in the time that it takes. And I think that, especially with how good that overtime period was, you kind of rob people of some really good hockey there. I mean, the shootout's exciting, and look at congrats to Sweden, man. Hats off to them. Henrik Lundqvist was insane this game. And I just, but I hate seeing games decided by medals. So yeah, I don't know. It sucks. I don't like it. I don't like it when Canada wins. I don't like it when Canada loses. I don't like it when it's two countries that I don't care about winning and losing. I wish that gold medal games or championship games or whatever just couldn't be decided like that. It sucks, and it's not, again, it's just, we got robbed of good hockey because that overtime was great. And, and that sucks. I feel like that's terrible. Obviously, Pittsburgh destroyed the Senators today. But I do want to point out something. And as much as I think that maybe when it comes to the Senators, that maybe the bell has struck, the clock has struck midnight, and Cinderella has to get back, into the carriage and before it turns back into a pumpkin and yada, yada, yada. But teams that have put up 7 spots on other teams in this playoff so far, it hasn't ended well for them. So just something to keep in the back of your head. I recall a certain team in Teal put up a 7 spot on a certain team wearing orange. And then I saw another team in orange put up a 7 spot on a team that should wear orange more often. And so, that Wingles elbow, Vince G asking, I think Wingles gets the call for that elbow. He should. That was ugly. I love Tommy Wingles. You guys know I don't hate Tommy Wingles. I just didn't like his contract. But yeah, you can't do that, man. There's no way he should get something for that, because there's no justification for that. He just kind of skated over and they got the elbow up, and I don't know how even someone with like the most Wingles tinted glasses can defend what he did there, because it was just a garbage play. So it is what it is. I don't look at, I think, being said about this, the teams putting up 7 spots, Pittsburgh should win this series. They're the better team, but the Senators have beat better teams to get to this point. So, that's why the games are played, and we'll see what happens. But I think that's going to be rough it's going to be hard. I mean, and Ottawa's got some wounded bodies, man, but damn, like, you got to give them credit. Same with, and you want to talk about, wounded bodies, you go over to that Predators series, the Predators Ducks, and the Predators, you got to give your hats off to them a little bit too, because they stole their last game. I think, in my opinion, they stole their last game, and give them credit, man, because losing, without your top 2 centers is hard. I mean, ask the Sharks; they were missing their 3 top centers. Ryan Johansson, just a terrible, just crappy thing that happened, and thank God he's okay. I mean, that could have been, disastrous if they didn't catch that as quick as they do. And yeah, John Gibson being hurt, maybe that makes it okay. I still think that if Pittsburgh pulls this out, they're probably, I don't like it, but this could be the first actual repeat champions we've seen since the salary cap era, because I don't think anyone in the cap era has won back-to-back titles. I know Chicago staggered theirs out, but back-to-back titles, I don't recall anyone winning back-to-back titles. So as much, and I don't really want, do you really want that for Pittsburgh? Pittsburgh fans are obnoxious. I don't want them to have that, that little thing like, oh, we're the only back-to-back winners in the cap era. We're the best. I can't deal. One if the series goes to 6, and I think, look, if Gibson can't go, I don't like Bernier's chance of keeping the Ducks in this. So I think that if Gibson can't go, I think that the Predators better hope they win, because if they don't, then they're in trouble. Because that's as golden as an opportunity as you were going to get. Detroit and Pittsburgh met back to back, but they changed cup winning. They both made it, but each one won the team 1 year and the other. No one won back to back. Sorry, Kuda. Kuda Phil. I try to keep it. I kind of wander a little bit when I'm by myself because it's hard to not have dead air. So if Kevin, so I generally fit in a little bit about everything. So once Kevin comes back, I'm sure we'll get back on topic, but it's hard to do this alone. And if I don't suggest it to anybody. It's hard. I don't like it, but I do it because we're all here. Yeah, I don't know. So I mean, those are the games. That's what's going on in the NHL playoffs. I think it's going to be fun to see who makes it through. I'm trying to get kind of engaged again, although it's been really this is the least amount of other than Barracuda hockey, this is the least amount of playoffs I've watched in a long time. I kind of tuned in and out of the game with the Memorial Cup game today. But it's just, again, 7-1 blowout. It's hard. I don't really want to watch a blowout unless it's a team I actually care about, right? So, but I do love the Memorial Cup, but it's been really, really difficult trying to keep on top of everything, especially this year. It's been hard. This post season has been really rough because it's been my most intense, and I know I complain about this every show, and I feel bad that I do, but it's been the most intense, just cluster F of a school period that I've had so far. Any questions in the chat while I kind of spin tires here? Trying to think of anything else that I want to talk about. So Joel Ward was in the host again. I think I mentioned this earlier, but it's cool. I like the fact that it's cool that all these guys are still around, for one. And I try not to swear. I try to be professional. We see how far that gets me. Joel Ward was in the house. I like that that a lot of these guys are still around. And it's cool that they're showing up. I think that having them show up and support the baby club, I think that's cool. I like it a lot. So it's cool. It's kind of who's gonna come. It's now it's become the Barracudas who's gonna open the door thing, right? So it's we don't know. We don't know how much to read into who shows up because, again, TTG 5 is what I've decided our rumor ranking is that, the Joe Thornton re-signing is imminent because he was there and he's not technically under contract next year. So TTG 5 on that. We'll just, when it happens, just remember you heard it here first. Not Kurz, not Brody. Here first. We did it. You know what, Matt? I don't know. I wonder. I think it's probably more of a request. Um, it's more of a request than I think a requirement. I mean, they can't force these guys to do anything, right? Like these guys are, what are they going to do? You know, suspend me for not going to, or fine me for not going to a Barracuda game. I not collecting any money right now. Playoffs are over. I think they're probably asked politely to be there, and I think being the good sports they are, they show up, and I hope that they get to talk to the team and stuff. Though I think that'd be really important to have guys like guys like having a guy like Joel Ward who's done some really big things in the playoffs. Like forget how you may have feel about him, this last season. Joe Ward's a guy who's definitely seen some stuff in the playoffs. And, to kind of have a guy like that go and talk to the kids about, what he's been through, I think that'd be awesome to have for the Sharks. So I kind of hope it's not just sitting in the sitting up there in the nice box, but I hope they're talking about that too. Yeah, Felix, PAD, what's the P stand for? Gosh, brutal. Christine asks, what does the CUDA need to worry about for next game? You have to put a quarter. That's a quarter in the pucknology, Jar Felix. Sorry. What does the CUDA have to work on for next game? I think the one thing, and it's going to be very difficult because let's be honest, this is a very frustrating team to play. This is a really annoying team to play, but they need to keep their discipline in check. I know they only had four power plays or whatever. Yeah, I said a quarter because that's probably what a Canadian dollar's worth in the States right now. I think they need to keep their composure. I think that they can't get goaded into difficult, or bad penalties. I think that the Barracuda need to, I think they need to keep their power play going. I think that they're going to go into a hostile arena. And they're going to need to, especially I think at that point, that's when you really need to keep your composure because that Grand Rapids arena is probably going to be packed. And I think that, so I think, I think that that's going to be important. Obviously, they need to figure out their lines, I think. I feel like there's a couple, like obviously they've had injuries, so there's been a little bit of line blendering, but they need to find a couple of more lines that really, really work well. I feel like we have 1.5 lines right now that are kind of holding all the water for the team, and that's super. That's not good. And the penalty kill has been kind of scary. And yeah, look at. Lady Dragonborn saying they have to be able to score 5-on-5. They absolutely do have to be able to score 5-on-5. I agree with that, but I will take the small victory of the power play working over it not working because I think if you can score on the power play, the 5-on-5 goals should come. And I feel like the Barracuda. I'm going to put $1 in the Barracuda jar now. The Barracuda, I feel like if they hold it together, then they're going to be okay. Ferk. Just like there's any in there, except there's not. Jay Clark, way off topic. But I'll be sad if Cody Glass goes to Vancouver. You know what? If you willingly want to go to Vancouver at this point in time, kudos to you, man, if you want to go to that dumpster fire right now, because there's not really a whole lot to look forward to there. So yeah, I mean, if he chooses Vancouver, then so be it. Have fun with that, because it is what it is. I don't think Vancouver is going to be a much improved team next year. Like, I don't even know who's their goalie is next year at this point. So I'm pretty sure Miller's UFA. Oh, he wants Winnipeg to draft him. And here right, yeah, because this be draft. Oh man. See, this is what happens. I'm it's hard to keep track of everything. Like my draft board is completely screwed up. I don't even know who I would suggest. Like I've been it's been fun because I've been so overly reliant on Zach for prospect like drafting situation questions now, where like this is normally where I would just shove it Zach's blah, 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 Zach's direction, and he would, you know, make the show look smart. I can't keep track this year. It's been rough. Normally I've been normally I know I'm very, very on top of this stuff, but this again, school, blah. It's what it is. I'm gonna give Kevin a few more minutes to come back, but I'm not gonna tap dance too much longer on my own here because my cuppeth runneth empty. You know what? Look, it no matter what happens, we're gonna cover the draft just like we would any other time, and I will probably just like in school just cram really good before that show happens, so that I can sound smart and make it worth your time. There's a lot of things that we want to do going forward. Obviously, once the Barracuda are done their run, hopefully with a Calder Cup championship, you know, then I'm hoping that we can get back into some other stuff too, right? NHL picks, obviously, you know, NHL stuff. You know, you're a free agency, you're going to have the draft, and Teal Tinted Glasses is going to cover all that stuff because that's what we do. You know, and maybe it's not just Teal Tinted Glasses. Maybe we can wrangle some of the After Dark crew together to do some of this stuff too. But you know, we're gonna have it covered. And the expansion draft, I'm super jacked for, and I'm really looking forward to that. You know, yeah. Required. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to the expansion draft though. I think that's something that I can't wait, because with all the names getting released and everything, and you know who's been exposed, I think, man, that's going to be so much fun. Super fun. And yeah, Vince G asking about Zach. If Zach's, you know, Zach has a pretty legit hectic schedule, and you know, he had to make some choices, and unfortunately, you know, he had to make some choices, and he had to kind of remove some things from his plate, and we drew the short straw. But you know, and I'm not trying to say that to be if that come off as like prickish or anything like that. That's not my intention. I completely understand. Look, we were lucky to have Zach on the show as long as we did, because you know he's a busy dude, man. He has like 3 sites that he works for, you know, and we always treated him like he was in the family, but you know he always kept, you know, somewhat of a distance from being like fully in, right? So you know, I super, you know, look, I love Zach. Everyone knows how I feel about Zach. But it just, you know, sometimes things don't work out. I missed the beginning, but no, I wish I could go to Grand Rapids. I really do. One, I can't, just time wise, like it's just the worst possible time for me to try and escape. And the border, they like certain forms of identification to enter the US, and I don't have them. No, I don't need to replace Zach with another Zach. It's okay. We're good. We're good here. It's gonna be fine, guys. I hope that, you know, I mean, you guys there's 16 of you watching, mostly me just kind of rambling into my screen by myself. So obviously, I feel like I'm getting a little more comfortable doing this solo, and it looks like it's paying off. So I appreciate all you guys kind of sticking through the Ian solo experience. Get a passport. Yeah, passports, those take time. There's a lot of hoops to jump through to get a passport. Apparently, it's important. Who do I think gets the Norris? Brent Burns gets the Norris. And that's not just saying that as a Sharks fan. I think that if you look at the entire body of work, Brent Burns is just good. He's just he's just the guy that should win. And that question came from Felix, by the way. I look at Erik Karlsson had a hell of a late push, and that may affect some votes because we do know that a lot of the votes are disproportionately out in the Eastern Conference. But I think that Brent Burns should win it based on the complete body of work. I know he tapered off at the end when the Sharks looked bad, and I think that, but it kind of proves his point. Like, it kind of proves the point of why he should win the Norris, because you know, when he kind of fell off, and I'm not going to say it's all Burns's fault that the Sharks, you know, kind of just collapsed down the stretch before everyone got injured. Because I think that's something that everyone needs to remember, is that yes, the Sharks were injured in the playoffs, but they weren't, you know, other than a couple of select injuries, Donskoy, for example, who had been playing through the shoulder issues. Aside from that, they were pretty healthy. And when Burns kind of got shut down, the whole team kind of got shut down. So I think that really shows just how important Burns really was to the offense, and all that offense came from the blue line. And I agree. Steve Cooper saying he tried to do too much. I completely agree. I think he tried to, you know, he tried to really force the team to, you know, he tried to do basically everything. And look, I mean, dude's going to make $8 million next year. And probably, you know, that's just his cap hit. I'm pretty sure he's making more in real money. Obviously you want to, I think that's got to be weighing on his mind too, right? Like when he signed that deal, I didn't like the term, and I didn't like the money. Sorry. Nick Teptepis. Thanks, Ian. I had to pause my Justin Bieber apology video, and I get notified bAd is on, and I'll never see the apology. Well, that's good. Yeah, I agree. You know, and Vince kind of saying what you know, I think what I was trying to say and just not well enough. Is that you know, the team was just too reliant on Brent Burns. I think Brent Burns relied on him, you know, would try to force things a little bit. And I think that the team also relied too much on Brent Burns, and I think he, you know, put too much emphasis on himself. And I think when you sign a big deal like that, though, I mean, I kind of, you know, I think that's good, because we've seen a lot of players get that big payday and then they just don't care, because what are they playing for, right? So there's that. I think that's an important thing to consider. And I think it's positive that, you know, at least Brent Burns was trying to do. I'd rather him try to do too much than completely disappear while he's counting his money on the bench. But yeah, back to the initial questions. Yes, I think Burns should win the Norris. I think it should be. I don't think it should be that close. I think I think you're probably going to get. I think Hedman's the other one, so I'm going to say it's going to go Burns, Karlsson, Hedman, which is kind of a shame, because I think Victor Hedman, there's a guy that, you know, I'm not saying he should win the Norris over Burns, but I think he's a guy that doesn't get nearly enough love from teams, from just like everyone in general. Like I don't want to say he's underrated, because he's not underrated, but I just think that he's not underrated. I just think he often gets overlooked when you talk about the great defensemen in the NHL, especially, you know, the offensive ones. You know, I think Hedman doesn't get the amount of love or respect that he deserves. Vince G saying I could see Hedman getting some second. I think he's going to get some seconds and first for sure. It looks like Mr. Kevin Lacey has rejoined us and saved the show.
I don't know about save the show, but I am rejoining you. I might scare off the remaining viewers that we have.
That's all right. We were talking about the Norris. Do you think
the Norris?
Do you think Brent Burns is a lock for the Norris?
No, I don't. Because of everything that Erik Karlsson did in that second half. And I almost feel like the Norris is becoming the award that everyone wins 1 year later than they should.
Right.
Like I felt like last year Drew Doughty stole the Norris from Erik Karlsson. But I don't remember who won it the year before, Duncan Keith or something like that. I felt like that was the year Doughty should have won it.
I agree with that, yeah.
maybe Carlson wins this year, and then Burns doesn't have as good of a year next year, but he wins the Norris anyway, because that's just how things go now.
Yeah, and Matt in the chat, just going, because I was talking about, as you were coming on, I was talking about how Victor Hedman, is a guy that really doesn't get, like, he's not, I don't want to say he's underrated, because I think everyone knows Victor Hedman's good, but when you get into a conversation about like the great defenseman in the league, Victor Hedman's name doesn't come up nearly often enough.
Sorry, I got distracted by the chat.
The chat's loving it.
Like, okay, I'm sorry, Ian. Please repeat.
I was saying how Victor Hedman, although I don't want to say he's underrated, because he's not underrated. Everyone knows Victor Hedman's awesome. Good.
Yeah,
but I just feel like when the discussion of like the great defenseman in the league come up, I still feel like his name somehow gets overlooked in it. Like a lot of, Matt in the chat saying that, a lot of podcasts don't even realize that Victor Hedman's the third guy in this race.
Yeah, no, that's a very valid point. I don't even know how to, I don't know how to wrap my head around that, because Hedman really is one of the best defensemen in the league. And it's weird because I watched the Sweden-Canada game today for the World Championships, and all they did was talk about Hedman. And it's like, why is it that these international tournaments is where he gets all of his shine, and then seems to fly under the radar in the NHL? Yeah, I don't know, but I really don't know why that is, because he is a 5-tool defenseman. He's just like Burns. I'd say he's better than Burns, to be honest. Because obviously Burns has the more offensive upside, but Hedman has enough to carry his own, and I think he's better defensively. So that's a tough one. Now, as far as the Norris goes, it's something that drives me nuts, but his team didn't go to the playoffs.
Right.
And I don't think that's really a valid reason to discredit someone from winning an award, but that's the reality, and I think that's where Hedman is not getting the consideration, because he obviously wasn't good enough defensively to get his team to the playoffs.
Right. Although, like, that team, though, you look at the injuries and everything else, like, I don't know. It's hard to just pin that all on Victor Hedman, but you're right. That there is that bias, I think, when the voting happens, that they look at that and they're like, well, this team's not going to the playoffs, so I can't vote on this player, and whatever. Oh yeah.
Phil in the chat says bring Kaylee Krish back and basically replace me. I agree. No, we do need to get Kaylee back. I wanted to actually discuss that with her at the game, but I didn't see her this evening. So, but yeah, we will try and make that happen. Yeah,
absolutely. She was a blast to have on last time. Someone we would definitely love to have.
I'd like to get Greg back on also.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So saw him at the game. Way to go, Greg. Hope San Diego was awesome. And was it for the Barracuda?
Yeah.
So eFlow CC says, I did wear the turtleneck for the game. Yes. And
was that a big mistake?
What's up?
Was that a colossal mistake?
No, because they won.
Oh, okay. That's fair. Yeah, okay. Obviously.
But it is still, it's like 85 degrees in my house right now. So it's like, okay, the turtleneck's coming off, guys.
Right. Fair enough. Felix asked if we had talked. We kind of briefly discussed Ben Bishop on another show. I think it's fine. I don't have an issue with it. I know other people do. I think here's the thing. It's not if Ben Bishop gets injured, it's when. So that's a knock against him. But when he's healthy, he is one of the best goaltenders in the league. This guy has been a perennial Vezina nominee. So the fact that I know that this league is very much a what have you done for me lately league, and I know last year wasn't a great year for him, but I don't think he's done yet.
Yeah, yeah, summing up my thoughts on that was, I don't think he's done either. I think look at Dominic Hasek, like I said last time. Dominic Hasek's a guy whose career was over by an injury. Why would anyone want him? And then he went and won a couple cups with Detroit.
Nice.
and played till he was like 98 years old. So
yes. So obviously the Barracuda are gonna now head to off to the Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Yes.
Beautiful Grand Rapids. I don't know. I feel like I've driven through it, but nothing stands out to me about Grand Rapids. So
Van Arena. That's about all I know.
all right.
What did I want to add? Now, again, like I said, I missed everything hockey yesterday. So did you make a series prediction? Because I think we kind of forgot to do that
I feel like
end of the last series. What's that?
I like the Barracuda in 6. This is my thing. I'm sticking to it.
Okay. Yeah, I picked the Barracuda in 7. And I also picked Syracuse in 7. Syracuse lost in overtime this evening.
Correct. Yes. That series also tied up at 1.
Yeah. But I do want to, and I bring it up because I forgot to the last time I was on the show. But you have to give a shout out to fan of the show, Richard Ramirez. You always see him at SP Center wearing his breast cancer awareness jersey. He predicted Barracuda in 5 over San Diego. So I do have to give him props for that. However, he also picked Barracuda in 5 in this series as well.
Could happen. I mean, now they're rolling again. So
they are. Yeah.
We would have been kind of bullet, like, I don't think that we expected the Barracuda to roll off 4 in a row against the Gulls. So anything can happen. Look, they could go to Grand Rapids and, and the next games in San Jose could be the Calder Cup final.
I
don't want to tempt fate. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
that could be the next time we see the Barracuda on the ice at SAP.
That would be awesome. And since Kaylee Kirsch was brought up here earlier, I need to double check, but I think she got all 4 series right in that last round as well. So kudos to you, Kaylee.
Kudos to her. Absolutely. Kudos to her. Absolutely. My Marlies pick didn't go so well, did it?
Yeah, I was going to say both of my Eastern picks failed miserably, but I think I did pick Grand Rapids in 5 over Chicago. Anyway, I have both series going to 7, and it'll be a crunch Barracuda Calder Cup finals. Woo!
Ooh. I like that. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not as familiar with these two twos. I don't even know whose affiliates they are. Like, I know obviously Providence is the Boston Bruins.
The Providence Bruins are affiliated.
The Providence Bruins are
Blues.
Yes. The proud affiliate of the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so obviously the Providence Bruins I knew, but okay, so Syracuse is the Lightning, which is that's rough, man. That's some rough stuff. I mean, all these teams, no more picking off teams at half strength now, man.
Yeah. Oh man, good stuff. And then I also just want to give a shout out to Teal City crew who's been rocking SAP Center this whole playoff run. They've got all their banners up in section, I believe it's section 104. They've been starting a lot of the chants, and it's nice to see a much improved turnout here for the playoffs. I've already mentioned that before, but you got to give Teal City crew some love there as well.
I do.
Yeah,
I do. I thought like they get a quick cut to that section on the broadcast, and yeah, I mean it looked sharp. They have it pretty going. I think going forward, and I kind of mentioned this earlier while you were back on hiatus again.
Adulting.
Adulting. I was saying that the key I think going forward is that the Barracuda are going to have to remain disciplined, because this is a very sandpapery team. And, I think that they can work that to their advantage, because I think they can, the Gulls can take some the Gulls. Wow. I'm just so broken today. The Griffins can take some really dumb penalties, Vince G in the chat saying, Bertuzzi can be a power play vending machine. I completely agree. Guy's a rat. Like, guy's a total rat.
Yeah, I had some choice words off the broadcast for Tyler Bertuzzi.
Yeah, and I think if you can kind of reverse that and kind of like just let it get under their skin that they're not getting, I mean, obviously, I'm not saying I don't want the Barracuda to play with like no passion or whatever, right? Like they're going to have to answer the bell a little bit, but I think that if you can walk away from the more silly stuff, then that's just going to upset the Griffins more. And I think that there's something to be said for how that could help your game.
Mm-hmm. You know, and that's a great point. eFlow CC and I, now that I know who eFlow CC is, we were chatting at the game and or about the game earlier, and she brought up the great point that there's been a lot of penalties here so far.
Yes,
way more than you usually see playoff time. So something's got to give. Obviously tonight, 3 power play goals for the Barracuda. So that's great, but I gotta think that both teams will tighten up a little bit on their aggression, I guess. Mm-hmm. So those power play opportunities should dwindle a little bit. So the Barracuda got to get some more even strength goals, or hey, shorthanded goals, but some more even strength goals for there.
Yeah, obviously 5-on-5 is going to be important. I think that the lack of 5-on-5 goals. I mean, it's only been 2 games, so I mean, it's a little bit concerning at this point. I think that you do need to score at 5-on-5 at some point, but I think if you can getting the power play going tonight was, I think, hugely important for the Barracuda to show that, look, this isn't going to be Stockton all over again. The power play can succeed against this team, and I think that was important. I think that they showed that they can hang with the Griffins. I think the Griffins, like, this is a pretty even matchup, and I think that's the one thing I think that people really need to realize, that this is a really even matchup. These teams match up very well against each other.
Absolutely.
And it's gonna be those things where one team's gonna catch a break, and it might just be a lucky bounce that wins you a hockey game. And so I feel like if the Barracuda can stay out of the box and they can just play their game a little bit more better, then they're going to be fine. I think they have all the tools to beat the Griffins, but they can't take the Griffins lightly, and they can't take their foot off the gas at any point this series, because if they do, we saw what happens.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, I picked Barracuda in 7. There's a reason I picked 7 and not 5. That's a damn good hockey team. And yeah, they're annoying as a Barracuda fan. They're annoying to watch because they play a very sandpaper game, as you said it perfectly. So I'm losing my train of thought here, but
that's what I
nevertheless, this is a team that is not going to just walk away and go, here, go play Syracuse in the finals because Kevin said so. And a great point that Zach Devine brought up before the series began was that this is, in a weird way, Mirko Mueller versus Tyler Bertuzzi because of the trade. Because the trade were the picks that were Mirko Mueller for Anthony Mantha and Tyler Bertuzzi. And that sounds
sounds so good, does it?
But as I mentioned when I was on earlier in the show, I liked Mirko Mueller's game tonight. And Tyler Bertuzzi was out there getting frustrated. He was trying to play his dirty, rotten little game that he plays.
Yeah.
But it was, I mean, the refs were on to him tonight. And then Buddy Robinson with that reverse hit, and Bertuzzi comes back and just axe swings the bench because he's pissed that he looked like a damn fool out there. And that's besides his greasy hair. But that was for you, Phil, by the way. Sorry, it was not meant to be Hot Take City, but that's what it turned into. But yeah, I mean, Bertuzzi leads the charge on that, but Eric Tangratti's another guy, gets under his skin. The Griffins, outside of Joe Hicketts, have very large defensemen. And Joe Hicketts, as you mentioned, Ian, the last time the Griffins and Barracuda played in the regular season, Joe Hicketts doesn't know he's 5'9".
No, he is to me, he's like the new little ball of hate.
Yeah.
That's what he is to me. Like, Joe Hicketts is the new little ball of hate. Like, he's this generation's little ball of hate.
Yeah.
He's
great.
He's crazy. Just in the chat, something that came up in the chat here was, what have you thought of Sorensen's game?
Tentative. And it's almost like watching Sorensen in the beginning of the season. How he was very hesitant to do things. Things he was doing were generally okay, but he seems hesitant. So do we know? I'm just speculating it's some kind of upper body or shoulder injury going on with him, but I know he's got to be playing hurt. Or I shouldn't say I know, but I think he's playing hurt. And I just wonder if that is seeping into his mind a little bit to where he's just not as effective as he was at the time he was called up to the Sharks.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point, because I feel like that was kind of giving me my thoughts too. Like, we know that he missed some games for injury already. So, I mean, obviously, look at their hockey players. If they can play, they're going to come back and play. But I wonder, just with the way he's kind of shied away from some play, if there's something being nursed there that we don't know about. Because I think, look at, hockey players are dumb, as we know. They play through some really stupid things that normal people don't play through.
Trust. Yeah, I was sorry. Go ahead. I want to actually elaborate on that more, but go ahead.
But yeah, so I think that but you still you're going to still feel pain when you get hit. So I think that it's going to make you, even the toughest hockey player is going to be a little apprehensive, unless you're Logan Couture. And then you just take your face mask off and you're like, whatever, my face is broken. Just hit it a few times, take your shots. I don't care.
I heard that Ryan Carpenter took a Tim Heat slap shot to the mouth last night, or to the nose or something. He looked fine.
Yeah,
he looked fine in a no full cage or anything. And so I'm glad Carpy's okay. Obviously, I've already said that to me, he's the MVP of the entire playoffs so far. And we needed him tonight because, I mean, he scored.
Yeah. If this team loses Ryan Carpenter, they're in some serious trouble.
Yeah. 16 points in 12 games. Jeez.
Yeah,
playoffs, folks. You don't do that in the playoffs.
Well, he's playing for a contract.
That's true. I hope that's more than he's playing for a cup, but he is playing for a contract too.
I think that when you look at, though, I mean, obviously, I think these guys want to win regardless of what level they're at. I don't think that you definitely don't play hockey growing up to, dreaming of your Calder Cup victory. But I think,
you got to start look at the San Francisco Giants.
Right.
That team basically won when they were the San Jose Giants. And you build off of winning. You build your confidence off of winning. Absolutely. And it helps you get a step forward in the NHL.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I but I still think obviously that next step is always going to be the main focus, right?
Right.
It's never going to be, I think, maybe for some players, like you settle. I don't want to say you settle, but you accept your limitations and realize that playing for the Calder Cup is still pretty damn good. But I think for a guy like Ryan Carpenter, I mean, he's, pending UFA, he's looking for that next deal. And it is what it is, right? You got to go, you got to have that on your mind when you're in these playoffs. I think winning would be great, but at the same time, it's about the future too.
Yeah. Well, the future is bright, as Greg and I mentioned on the show a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, this season was frustrating for the Sharks and for Sharks fans, but this Barracuda run has to make you excited for the future, even if things look a little murky right now with the team aging as it is, the Sharks team aging as it is. But and some of these Barracuda players are going to play for the Sharks sooner than later. So, and that's exciting. So, let's see.
Steve Cooper saying many of the 91-92 Blades Cup winners is their big win. And that, when I spoke in chat, look, I'm not saying that, I mean, obviously these guys are playing to win. They're going to win regardless. They want to win regardless of what league they're playing in. They're not just going to phone it in because it's not the Stanley Cup. I just think that, obviously it's not for a lot of players, if they can get, they want to be higher. Ryan Carpenter wants to be playing in the NHL next year. He doesn't want to be just the best guy on the Barracuda. Yeah. He'd rather be the worst guy on an NHL roster.
Absolutely. I look at Michael Haley, not to discredit Michael Haley, but that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to discredit like a lower championship, and I'm not trying to discredit how awesome it would be to win one. I just think that obviously it's not what you play for.
Yeah, right.
That's all. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to discredit anyone who's won the Calder Cup. Look at Calder Cup it's a trophy. Guys play to win trophies. Guys play to win. These guys are wired to be competitive, and they want to be the best wherever they are. And if that's the AHL, so be it.
Yeah.
I think that, and this is special too. Like this, I think the thing that I want to emphasize about this team is we don't know what next year is going to bring. We don't know who's going to be back for the Barracuda. This team's special, and next year, don't wait till next year to jump on the bandwagon. Like this is the year you want to get on, because we don't know what next year brings. There's no guarantee. When the other thing about minor league hockey, or this is still pro hockey, but it's obviously minor to the NHL, that there's a lot more movement. The windows are a lot shorter. Sometimes windows are 1 year, and the Barracuda could easily just be in a 1 year window here. We don't know what next year will bring. So I think that, enjoy it, man, because this is special. Regardless of what happens, this is special. Enjoy it.
And it really is. And I can't emphasize it enough. That's why I'm happy with the promotions are at least getting people out to the building to see this team, because this team's production on the ice is what's going to help bring fans back, and people will remember that. And so go out and enjoy these players while they're here, and enjoy the atmosphere. It's a fun time. It's really inexpensive. So I mean, I think this round tickets are $15. The cheapest ticket is $15, and you're still sitting lower bowl. Like,
right,
it's a great time.
I mean, $15 general admission to watch Timo Meier. Next time you want to watch Timo Meier the next year, it's going to cost you whatever it costs to go to a Sharks game.
Yeah, for real. Felix had an awesome question earlier. Oh, I'm glad to hear that, Steve. Oh, you're one huge Shark fan on Twitter. Okay, shout out to you. I see your tweets and your likes and whatnot. Thank you.
There you go.
Felix had a great question here earlier, and I need to go back, but it was something along the lines of, is the window still open for the Sharks? Since I was talking about how a lot of these Barracuda players will graduate to the NHL at some point. The window's open, but I think it's like it's open, but don't expect to jump through it, kind of thing, for a few years.
Ask me in July.
What's that?
I said, ask me in July.
Yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, I think that's an excellent question. It's hard to win a championship when you have, say, 8 graduates all at once to
Right.
the NHL. Like, it usually doesn't happen unless you're like the Carolina Hurricanes or something like that. But the window is closing, but it will reopen sooner than Sharks fans think. I think that's the best way I can put it.
You know what? Right now, there's so much I don't know. Like, it's so hard to say because we don't know. I mean, yes, TTG 5, Joe Thornton re-signing eminent because he was at the Barracuda game. But I mean, we really don't know what this team is going to be. There's so many things like that could just alter what this team is drastically. And I'm not. I don't know. I think if it's open, it's just open a crack. I don't think it's wide open as it was. I think if you look at the Sharks, and I still feel the same way I did at the end of the season, regardless of injuries, the Sharks are the only team in the NHL that still are trying to run their team through a bunch of really older players. Everyone else, all their main players are younger pieces. And the Sharks are really the anomaly team that are, their offense goes through a guy who's 30, who's going to be 37, 38.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen on any other team. So I feel like, as far as that goes, I think the Sharks are behind the 8 ball. I think that, Joe Thornton, I love Joe Thornton. I'm a huge Joe Thornton fan. I've watched Joe Thornton play hockey since he was a teenager. But he can't be the focal point of our offense anymore. And there is no replacing Joe Thornton. There's just, there's just guys that don't fit. Like there's just guys that don't, that you can't replace. Ask Detroit about not being able to replace guys. And there's other teams too. Detroit just the easiest comes to mind, right? There's just one in a kind players, and that's what Joe Thornton is. He's a generational playmaker that you don't just replace him.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
And you hope, and I think you gotta want Thornton to still be around when these Barracuda players do come up, because how much are they going to learn from this guy? Like this guy, he's special. And these Barracuda players, I'm not going to say they're going to be any of them are going to be the next Joe Thornton, but they all can be a damn good team that learns a whole lot from Joe Thornton. Because look at Pittsburgh right now. Without Crosby, I mean, Crosby's back, but without Sidney Crosby, all those pieces, Jake Gensel, Carter Rowney, Josh Archibald, they're learning a ton from this guy. And so they're able to step in, and Pittsburgh still is a fantastic team. But Pittsburgh still is a fantastic team. I know they have some Malkin guy too, but
the Malkin guy is pretty good, and so is that Kessel guy.
It's sad to say I actually always forget about Kessel.
But I agree though. I think the point stands though that you look at some of these teams, and Chicago, I think to an extent too who has done this, how they've promoted people up through the system to fill those cheap spots, because that's all the money they have, is that they have to bring people up, and they've gotten some really good. They've had some guys that have come up and have been really, really good. And Pittsburgh's done the same thing. And so, yeah, I mean, that's important. I think that the Sharks do have the basis. I just think that, I would like to see the Sharks swing for the fences, though. They need to stop this safe drafting nonsense.
Yep.
And they really need to swing for the fences, and they really need to get a guy, because I don't know. Vince G saying Jumbo is a sure bet to land Sharks developmental coach. You know what? It's interesting though, because if I'm a guy like Joe Thornton, I've made all that money. I mean, maybe. I just feel like if you've put all that money in your jeans, then you probably want to spend more time with your family, I think, at that point.
Yeah. But hey, Vince is on to something a little bit, because I mean, if you're a former Shark, you have a much better chance of becoming a coach or something with this team, having a job with this team, than if you weren't a Shark.
Right. Well, I think they do a good job of but they, it'll be interesting. Like when we see head coach Mike Ricci, then maybe. But I think they've done a good job. Like there's definitely some carryover where they've brought in guys back like Nabokov and stuff to do coaching, but they've never but I don't, they've never really handed the keys over to one of those guys yet.
Yeah. Yep.
So we'll see. It'd be interesting to see what happens. And Lady Dragonboard making a good point. Great players don't always make great coaches. Gretzky. I would also offer that, Joe Thornton. I wonder if Adam Oates would be a guy that I wonder if Joe Thornton would kind of be comparable as a coach. Maybe he'd be a little easier to get along with. But I feel like, like a guy like Joe Thornton, because of the way he thinks the game, and maybe Gretzky, I think to a point here too, it's just for him, it's so second nature. And I don't know if you can teach that, how do I teach something that's just second nature to me? If that makes any sense. Something that I don't think about. How am I going to make you understand something that I just do? I don't know. That's my thoughts on coaching Joe Thornton. But who knows? Anything can happen. But yeah, we should probably get out of here, because we have if we get these boys go all night. No, I need sleep. I promise I need sleep. Next game, obviously, they're traveling to Grand Rapids to play the Griffins in Grand Rapids. I know that the audio feed, I guess, is going to be delayed on the radio, which is dumb. I don't, but I think the AHL feed will be fine.
Well, yeah, but I hope they've made some kind of improvement, because if I recall, Van Andel Arena operates on like 80p or something. Like I recall the video quality being atrocious out of that building.
I don't know. All I know is that that's where the game's going to be. I believe that the game on the radio at least will be tape delayed. So that's unfortunate. I might be able to get on, but I don't want to promise anything. So tentative.
Yeah.
Unless
the bottom line is, if you want to watch or listen to the game, head out to Stanley's, where there will be a viewing party.
Yes.
So that's all I got for that. But I know there's going to be a viewing party at Stanley's.
There is going to be a viewing party at Stanley's, so definitely check that out. Other than that, I don't know. As far as the show Wednesday, I don't know. We will put our heads together and see if we can throw something together. I make no promises. Just because, like, again, for the next couple of weeks, it's just not going to be easy for me to keep up with what's going on in school and what's doing here. So,
well, in the meantime, you could always follow Ian on
Twitter
for the latest updates on the Barracuda. And if you really want to, you can follow me at Kevin Lacey 22.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, obviously, you guys know the drill. You guys need to subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, although we have a pretty routine crew here at this point, so I feel like everyone here is pretty much subscribed. But if you haven't for some reason, it's never too late. You can do it.
Tell a friend.
You can tell a friend. You can unsubscribe and resubscribe if you want.
What?
If that makes you feel better, if it makes you feel like you're doing something to help the team, it's great. Look at Matt. We love doing the show. I'm glad that we can do a Barracuda podcast.
Yeah, this is. I mean, we didn't envision this at the start of the season. No. I don't believe. But I mean, that's how awesome these games are, and to the fact that we feel compelled to do a show about the Barracuda. Absolutely. And for you to watch it is a blast. So thank you all.
Yes.
Like I said, tell a friend about going to the games. Tell a friend about subscribing to Teal Town USA.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if people are wanting to get more info on the Barracuda, I mean, send them our way, because look at you guys know. I mean, you guys are in the chat. You know that we will spend half the show answering whatever questions you ask about the Barracuda, and no matter how much Kevin bags, they will definitely not let me in. I'm sorry. The Border Patrol's the Border Patrol, man. They're mean. Yeah, look, I know, I understand that the AHL live costs are expensive.
Yeah. So Vince bringing up in the chat here that never encourage anyone to fork over that kind of cash for AHL live. AHL live, those prices are insane. However, and this is your job, Barracuda, the AHL always shows the Calder Cup finals for free. So one more round to get through.
One more round, kids.
And then y'all can watch the games online or go to the games themselves. So, yeah.
This is Nikolai Goldobin.
Oh, no.
This is Nikolai Goldobin.
You know what? I can't.
On that note, it was asked for. It was requested in the chat. Last time I licked the Goldobin, the Barracuda went on to just completely destroy the gulls. So
there you go.
There you have it.
Anyway.
So anyway, I will just watch for me on Twitter. Like I said, I will try to put our heads together. We'll try and throw together a show for Wednesday. If not, if schedules, whatever. It's a rough time of year for you guys. And I really, I give you guys as much time as I possibly can at this point. Worst case scenario, we'll be back next weekend.
Yep.
That's it. So other than that, hit the audio stream, hit the website. I'm hoping to write something tomorrow before I go back to school, because it's the long weekend here. So keep an eye out for that. That doesn't mean I'm going to write something. It just means I intend to.
And I'll bring it up since I know it pains Ian, but Sweden won the gold medal today, 3-2.
We already talked about that.
Okay. Go check out the image that I retweeted of William Nylander barreling over Henrik Lundqvist in celebration. It is incredible.
Conference rivals, man.
But they both won a gold medal together, and
That's true.
The picture is just, it's like one of those that will live on in infamy.
It was pretty awesome. I'm not gonna lie, just watching him like just tackle him.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, you don't break him.
Yeah.
Vince G. Goldie was banished to Utica for
yeah.
He was. Sorry, Goldie. All right, guys. I will see you next time. Have a good one. Thanks for watching. Ciao.
Thanks for watching, guys.